Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for the TESL Dialogue session we have. So today's topic is AI in the ESL classroom, game changer or double-edged sword. This is part one. Please make sure to join part two as well. So our presenter is John Artan. My name is Gonul. I'll be your host today, and our moderator is Laureta Vavla. So let me give you some information about Jen. Jen Artan is a seasoned Con Ed instructor with IWC, a learning sport lead with TV DSB, and a mentor with Avenue.ca. Since last fall, she has delivered about a dozen presentations on artificial intelligence at various events, including TESL Niagara, TESL Toronto, Center for Skill Development, and LCAE. Her presentations cover a range of AI topics, from explaining generative AI to its effective use with newcomers to Canada for language skill improvement. Recently, she led a discussion addressing teachers' concern about plagiarism related to AI tools. Jan continues to share her expertise on EdTech topics such as ChatGPT and Google Classroom, providing practical and relevant CLB-aligned resources for both learners and educators in both private and public sectors. So anyone that is new to TESL Dialogue session, I'm just going to give you quick information. We'll start with introductory question. First, the subject matter will answer it, and then the platform will open to our audiences. Feel free to put your answers in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, whatever the option you prefer. And after that, we will have some discussion questions, about 5 questions in total. Again, the order will be the same. So the Jen will answer the question and the platform will open to all of us. And finally, we have the breakout room activity question, which is the favorite part of this dialogue session. You will have about 10 to 15 minutes to discuss with the group that you're in, and make sure that somebody will be a speaker in that group to report us once you are back in the main room. So we'll start with the introductory question. The first one is, what concern do educators have related to generative AI and its impact on learning? So we'll start with Jen.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. And this is a great question to start with because it is a concern, especially when we think about where we are today with the state of artificial intelligence in education, in the world, actually, exactly how is it impacting us? And I went back, and in my introduction, Gonul says that I've done about a dozen presentations since last year. I actually did the tally, and I'm up to about 22 presentations since 2023. So it is definitely something that is a hot topic, but it's a hot topic for a reason. It's because it has just come on us so seemingly very, very quickly. Especially in education. And as you know, if you work in education, and we all do, if you're in K-12 or if you are in higher education, school boards, education seems to be fairly slow to act. And that's been the case for me and for a lot of people that, we don't really know what to think about generative AI, like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. We don't really know what to think because for many people, we're not really getting the guidance. So what I've been hearing from a lot of educators is legitimate concerns about what exactly is generative AI and how can I use it as an instructor, as a teacher for myself, but how are my students using it? And I think the number one concern that many educators do have is related to academic integrity and plagiarism, and our students that might potentially be using it to cheat in some way on their assignments. So it's really shone the spotlight on what kind of assessments we give as educators and how to AI proof them in a way. This has come up quite a lot. Lots of other concerns that I've heard, and I'd like to hear from everybody else in just a moment. And other concerns are things like, this tool is coming on so very quickly and it's adapting and changing. There's data privacy concerns. If we're using it with our students, how is it adapting, using, and learning and training on the data that we provide? And it is. If you use ChatGPT, unless you opt out, your data is being used to train the large language model. And this is not just ChatGPT. Data is the new oil. Data is being used in many places. In fact, just last year, if you have a Zoom account, your Zoom user agreement ended up rolling over for many people. And one of the core elements on the user agreement for Zoom was that Zoom was going to train its AI on the data that it picks up from its users, especially in the free platforms. So our data is definitely out there. So privacy concerns are an issue. How to use the tools effectively, how to transform our assessments is definitely a key issue. And other things, of course, include things like, the writing process. How do we engage our students who might be somewhat reluctant to, put in that drudgery and that hard work of learning how to write an essay or a paragraph? And how do we convince them that this is actually still a useful cognition skill? Learning how to write is learning how to think. Learning how to think is knowing how to speak. And then all these are connected. When we're getting students saying, well, why bother? ChatGPT can do it for me in like 2 minutes. So educators, of course, have so many legitimate concerns. Those are just a few that I've noticed.
Yes, thank you so much, Jan. So what do our educators present today have? What concerns do you have in regards to generative AI and the impact it's having on your students' learning and on your teaching, for sure? We have Mitra that's saying cheating. There's no control over cheating, and that's absolutely true. As Jan was referring to it as well. That's the most highlighted concern for sure amongst all of us. Anyone else that would like to take the floor, turn on their microphone, or maybe even contribute to the chat? What's the reason why you're here today, right? What are the reasons behind you being present today, tonight? It's a lovely day outside, but you chose to join us. Why? What are your concerns?
Can I just talk about what Mitra was saying here
Yes.
about cheating? Absolutely. And we'll talk about this later on. Teachers, of course, the cheating and the plagiarism issues. We know there are tons of AI detection tools out there. EdTech opportunism is all around us at the moment. Students can actually pay money for some of the more personalized AI tools will actually have a leg up on their competition because they can actually use the AI tools to cheat in a much better way that hides their AI. So there is some inequity in that for sure. And there's also tools that like otter.ai. For example, if you're doing a link listening activity and we play the listening twice, right? Students can install an app like otter.ai. The Otter AI will listen and transcribe the entire thing for them right there. And then when the questions are there, they're able just to plop that transcript into an AI tool and get the answers in seconds. So, and this is for people that might be doing a blended learning or online learning. So definitely, cheaters going to cheat, and AI seems to be making it a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Yes. And then we have Danielle, who says that teachers prohibiting use out of fear instead of teaching how to use AI effectively. And that's true. It feels like we're putting our students into a disadvantage if we're not teaching them how to properly use AI when everybody else is using it. That's how I feel with my students sometimes. So I try to talk about AI in our second week, and I've had students who have been surprised, like, wow, this tool exists. Whenever I come to class, I feel like everybody knows about AI, but there are some students who don't. And when I talk about it, I feel that Wow, that's good. I feel good that I involved everybody so that at least we are at the same level of knowledge. And then how we use it, we talk about it. So what do you think about this, Jen?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I do some of the intake for newcomers to our school. I teach them in technology. I get the students as they walk in the door, and part of my process is teaching them about academic integrity. We have to teach to talk about that. And I say to this group, I say, so you all know about ChatGPT, right? And 5 out of 6 will say yes.
Yes, right.
That is true.
That's true.
One will say, what? No, sorry, I don't
Mhm.
know. But then they find out fairly quickly exactly what it is. And then there's that. And during the winter holidays, we had a bunch of teachers off ill. And I ended up saying, hey, why don't we do an AI presentation for this group of students that happens to be here in March with no teachers? I said I could do something for them like right away. And I did. But some of the feedback from my other teachers is like, why are you teaching them about generative AI? Why do that? Why shine the light on AI? We're trying not to let them know about that. I'm like, they know, but now we have to teach effective, responsible use.
Right, it is here. We cannot hide behind it. That's so true.
Exactly.
As Danielle is saying. Jennifer has a comment about, I'm concerned that students might not be fully developing the skills needed to achieve their learning objectives. Absolutely, right? That's the fear we all have. For example, can they discern between AI generated content that is appropriate and those that contain problematic content like plagiarism, bias? And do they know how to properly reference AI generated content in their work? We'll talk about all of these amazing comments. So that's great. And it is there, as Mitra is saying, everywhere. Schools, workplaces, life. Yes, it will be here. It's here to stay for sure. Sylvester says that some learners think using AI is legitimate, but they do not use it to advance their learning, but to avoid making an effort. And that's the problem. That's the huge problem. And Arla offers a comment. It can be used as a learning tool, but for those students who are not using it in this way, how do we detect it? It feels like a game of whack-a-mole. It does. It does feel, and it is a scary game to play. So that's why we're here. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of your concerns. Sophia has a question. Could be that tasks in the classroom will become more spontaneous over time? Okay, it's not a question. It's one thing when we evaluate speaking and pronunciation. Yes, and as Jan was mentioning earlier, maybe we should change. We should change the way we teach. We should change our assessments. We should also change our teaching activities we use on a day-to-day basis. So let's dive. Thank you again, everybody. And let's dive now into our conversation and discussion questions. Over to you, Gonul.
Thank you, Laureta. Okay, so we have total of 5 discussion conversation questions. The first one is, how can generative AI personalize learning experiences for newcomers with diverse backgrounds and learning preferences? So we'll start with Jen, and then we'll move on to the audience.
Yeah, one of the great things about AI tools is its ability to personalize, and that's what it does. If you use ChatGPT or Gemini or Alexa or Siri, their underlying algorithms or instructions basically are to know you, to know the user very, very well, so that they can begin to, personalize their responses and give you information that is relevant to you. So one of the great things with a generative AI, again, using we haven't even really defined the term. We're just assuming everybody knows what it is, but artificial intelligence that can create, text or images or things of that nature. One of the great things is that we could use it to very, very personalize lesson plans and come up with ideas depending on the makeup of our learners. So if we have a class, for example, of CLB level maybe 3-4, and we know that most of our class has had some professional training or they're internationally educated professionals, and maybe the majority of them happen to be from the Ukraine and a couple other, so like you can get all these factors from a needs assessment, and then you can factor that into, okay, here's the lesson that I'm going to do right? So, you know, use your experience, right? Teachers are not, let me just say this at the outset, teachers will not be replaced by AI. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening ever. I think teachers' expertise and teachers' knowledge, the ability that teachers have to interact with students and to develop personal relationships with students, that cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. So we talk about teachers being augmented, and being able to personalize means to say, okay, here's my lesson plan about job interview skills in Canada, for example. And then you can feed it into your tool and say, my students are this, this, and this. Analyze this lesson plan. Show me where I can make activities a bit more specific to my students' prior knowledge, skills, and abilities. Maybe something that is more interesting for them and their backgrounds. I had a group entirely of culinary students at one point, and I don't know a whole lot about cooking. I'm perhaps the worst cook you could possibly think of. So I was relying on that quite a bit to kind of guide me and to help me. So you can definitely personalize the content that you already have. You can do, and another quick example, because there's so much I can say about this, but I do an online course with IWC out of Hamilton, and it wasn't the ChatGPT that we were using. I actually introduced them to my students to Hume.ai, as HUME.ai, for speaking practice. And it was a really great idea. One of my students said, okay, I'm actually doing this every day, every morning. I wake up, I have Hume on my phone, I talk to it. How's your day? This is my plan. This is what I want to do. What do you think of this? And she's bouncing ideas off of the Hume AI, which is a large language model, but it's more of an AI assistant. It does a little bit more. It's more of an empathic speaking tool. It's really cool. So that's Hume.ai. I'll put the link in the chat in just a moment. But she is very specifically using this tool to personalize how she's learning English and the questions that she has, and like practicing her small talk and running those scenarios in her, you know, she works as well. So she says, well, I'm going to have this situation happening at work today. And what do you think of this? How should I respond to this? So it's her own personalized support tool in a way. So there are quite a few ways we can use it to make our lessons very, very much more personalized and engaging for our students.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah.
I was wondering if anyone has any other ways to personalize AI. Have you had any other experiences on your own? So Hume is a great tool to use for sure. I was wondering if anyone of you present tonight has had any experience, or is this all new to you?
Feel free to
You're here
unmute
to learn.
yourself.
Danielle says, for teachers to save time, to save energy for students and teaching instead of paperwork, right? That's a great way. I want to know more about this. Yes, of course, Danielle. It is. I feel like AI is an opportunity for us and our students to really dive deeper into higher level thinking and try really to take the best out of AI and build from it. But the problem I see there is if students don't have the foundation, how can they build upon it, right? If we don't build the foundation first, that's the worry I have. Angela says, create a dialogue between student and a shopkeeper to practice, etc. Right? That could be a nice prompt, right? And then you can enter more details to make it more personalized for your own class, your own cohort, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like that idea, Angela. And it's, you know, we've done this before as teachers. Like we have to come up with scenarios, and if it's like ordering a coffee from Tim Hortons, right? You can have the dialogue that you've used and is successful. Then you can feed it into chat and say, come up with 4 more scenarios or 4 other scenarios, and you can vary it depending on your students and what their interest is. And you know, I've got Mohammed here who really hates double coffee, but he loves tea, so let's change the order a little bit around, and we'll do it like this. And you know, I mean, we talk about having kind of a we really need to get more skill using activities, especially in our speaking activities. So this really gives us a way to put, for example, we want to save some teacher time, put what you've got into chat and say, okay, give me other ideas, give me more ideas, give me 5 more ideas. But I've noticed my students are struggling with their, some skill building like preposition use or article use. They seem to drop that a lot. So I really want you to focus in on this specific grammar point in this dialogue.
Generate a bunch of examples for you, which is really interesting.
That's great. Sophia is saying that it reminds me of the foundation of doing math manually compared to using a calculator. So they do go together rather than replacing one another. Yes, absolutely. And Angela is adding to her point that yes, the student can do that to practice with an immigration specialist, et cetera, and we can put in as many situations as we need to. According to Mitra, the whole point depends on how accurate the prompt is, right? The bias element. Prompt writing is a key to make this practice exercise useful and productive, right? Oh, so how accurate the prompt is, the prompt that we use. And we can go deeper, right, into it and make it really specific to our class, to our students. According to Jennifer, we might try to identify real-life challenges that learners are facing and help them use AI to work out ways to reach their objectives. For example, filling out a job application or sending a note to their child's teacher. And these are excellent examples from all of you. Amazing. Great. Thank you. So, Gonul, Jen, are we ready for our second question?
Yes, we are. Let's move on. So, second discussion question: what ethical consideration should ESL teachers be aware of when using generative AI tools for assessment or feedback? That's a great question. We'll start with Jen and move on to audience.
We've already brought up some of the ethical considerations that teachers should be aware of. Probably the one point I wanted to bring here is the AI detector tool issue that is out there. Now, last year, AI, generative AI as we know it, has really only been around since late 2022, November 2022, when ChatGPT was released, and then 2023 we saw Google Gemini and everybody else, Claude, coming out. Claude, by the way, is now available for Canadians if you had not been using it before. Claude is actually quite good. I find it's really great. So what I was going to say with that is that the AI detector tools that are out there, like ChatGPT or Chat Zero, just do a Google search and you'll see a long list of AI detection tools, and they all claim to have some degree of accuracy. Now, what we know about these kind of tools, OpenAI actually had their own AI detection tool out there for a brief period of time until they realized that they were getting too many false positives or false negatives, saying that something was AI when it wasn't, or saying something was human written when it wasn't. So it is, when we take a student's piece of writing and we put it into an AI detection tools, especially non-native speakers of English, our ESL students, what we need to know are 2 things: perplexity and burstiness. Is it text perplexity and burstiness? What happens when somebody who speaks English as a second language or an additional language is that they don't, sometimes they don't have as many alternative ways to make a point or to say something academically as somebody who speaks English as a first language. So that's a real brief breakdown of what text perplexity is. So these generating tools, they look for text perplexity and they say, aha, your text is not very perplex, therefore you must have used AI to generate this particular piece of writing, because we can see that it's very formulaic. There's certain expressions, so it must be AI generated. So it more frequently will identify somebody who speaks, who doesn't have English as a first language, as having used AI when they didn't. So that is one of the issues for sure. And the other issue, again, is something called burstiness that is looking for. Burstiness, the best way to explain that is kind of having a creative license. I write all the time for LinkedIn and blog reports, and when I write, I can sometimes be intentionally and grammatically incorrect because I'm just trying to make a point or to be sarcastic or to use humor in some way. So because I do this, it's called as burstiness. So it's more likely to be human generated is what it's looking for. So problematic for sure. Using an AI detection tool, again, we recommend you not to do it. Everybody, Ethan Mullick is saying, he just said at ISTE at their conference, they say don't use them, they don't work, and it's what it ends up doing in many cases is confirmation bias. As a teacher, if you're working in a comm class in college or university or your ESL classes, and you say, hey, this particular piece of work, I am pretty sure this has been AI generated. You take it, you copy it, you put it in a chat GPT, or not chat, you put it into a chat GPT 0 detector. And of course it comes back and says, hey, it's 80% AI generated, 20% human generated. And you're like, aha, I was right. Right. So it kind of has this confirmation bias. And the same thing goes with asking chat GPT or Gemini or Claude, because some teachers will take the writing and copy, don't include the personal information of the student, but just take the writing and paste it into one of these generative AI tools and say, did you write this? Now, one of the issues that we have with this particular process is, I said before, generative AI tools really want to get to know the user. And to do that, they are very deferential, very polite, and very, oh, yes, of course. So ChatGPT is a people pleaser. So if you put a prompt into ChatGPT and say, hey, did you write this? It's going to analyze and predict, why are you asking this question? You're asking this question because you already suspect this is generated by AI. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I wrote this. You're so smart. Good job catching that. You're more likely to get that kind of response. So the teacher goes away feeling, look, I was right. I knew this was ChatGPT. You don't really need ChatGPT or a tool to detect whether or not it's been created by AI. Just look at the writing. We know what our students are capable of. And when we have questions about that, I think the most ethical thing is to involve the student. Ask them.
Right, but we also need proof, right? Because the student will come back to us, especially with college level students or university level students. They will come back to you and tell you, well, no, I didn't use AI, right? Because these circumstances and scenarios are so present that they are learning how to respond. They know now how to respond to such cases when professors ask them to clarify their writing. So what do we do then if you don't have proof? Like we had Turnitin before, and I could use Turnitin to meet with my students and show them the percentage, show them the number, and then of course take a piece of writing they already wrote weeks ago or at the beginning of the course and confront this present writing with that one. I can still do that for sure, but I don't have a number, I don't have a percentage, I don't have something black written on white.
You're right.
So that's the hard part, right?
Yeah, Turnitin.com doesn't catch it either.
Yeah.
Chances are extremely slim with that.
Fatima is saying there are other tools like Humanizer AI that rephrase text, thus making it hard to flag by AI detectors. And I've had those cases too with my students. It was like they copied a text from a friend, rephrase it, but it was still there. It was so evident. And yeah, they agreed to it, but
there's a lot out there right now, especially those humanizing AI anywhere you go. And because I've done the searching for it, the algorithms keep bringing them back to me. I keep getting, hey, humanize your text, your teacher will never know, and all this. So yeah, and students that have the ability to pay for these products will, like I said, will get better generated responses than students that are just plugging it into ChatGPT.
Jennifer is suggesting in class exams and validation exercises show what students can produce on their own. However, and that's an excellent point to make, however, they disadvantage those learners who perform poorly under time pressure, right? And that's absolutely true. Danielle is saying we have to change how we evaluate writing, more live or in-class tasks, etc. And then again, we go back to universal design for learning issues, right? To what Jennifer was referring to about students who really cannot perform well under pressure. Cassie is saying if all the writing is done online, then it is possible as well that they have used AI in all of their writing. Yes, even if their first initial writing was done online, right? How many amazing emails are you receiving nowadays? I talk with my colleagues and some of them are impressed at the emails they are getting from their students. Well, guess what? The students didn't really write them.
Yes,
So,
and here's a tip. If your email opens with, I hope this email finds you well,
do well.
or I hope this message finds you well, chances are they've had some AI assistance. And that's actually came up with a colleague of mine. She teaches the SLT in the online courses. She goes, something must have been happening in the last couple of months because I'm getting all these amazing emails. The teachers must be teaching this particular strategy. And I said, you realize that is AI, right? She goes,
Yes.
no. But the one thing I wanted to notice about that is that her response was very emotional. She felt like almost betrayed. It's like, how dare they use AI? I feel, because before what the teacher would do is through the email and the communications, use that kind of as a little bit of a benchmark and understand their writing ability and whatnot. And she doesn't have that anymore. So it feels like, a bit of a shock to figure out what do I do now?
Absolutely.
Concerning.
And if somebody ever thinks of using it and the person is a human, we should avoid using that phrase altogether now, right?
Well, there you go. Your AI is showing. So what do you do? Do you
What do you
humanize
do?
it? Do you change it?
Yes.
And your terms of use in OpenAI require you to cite it when you use it. So if you actually have an OpenAI, it says you are not allowed to pass something off as AI as human when it's not. However, no one does that. I mean, I see AI everywhere where people are not attributing it to, hey, I had AI help me with this. I had AI augment this. I see it in professional organizations. I see it across LinkedIn. And then I'm thinking, well, so what? I mean, if this is the real world, why are we really jumping on our students when this is actually happening? I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing kind of a loss of voice in some areas, and that, to me, that's a little concerning. But
Right. Mitra is raising the issue of equity, those who use it and those who don't for any reason. This leads to equity issues. Those who can pay and those who cannot pay, cannot afford to pay for it, as Jen was referring to earlier. That's for sure a problem. Sylvester is saying we know our learners' abilities and we can see changes in their style. We could have a conversation with them and use these changes to talk about ways to improve their speaking or writing. Absolutely. That's doable. It requires time, I would say, especially if you have many students. I feel that's a challenge, but with smaller classrooms, I've always done that and it works. Jennifer says another factor to consider are the translation tools. Many of my students are producing their written work in their first language. That's absolutely true. And use automated translation tools to create an English text. Then they use AI to correct any errors. Yes. And sometimes it still doesn't sound human. It doesn't sound real. And that's a red flag in those cases. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Great points for sure. Let's move on to our third conversation question.
Yeah.
Gonul, over to you.
Thank you, Laureta. Question 3. Imagine using generative AI to create immersive simulation for practicing real-world communication scenarios in Canada. How can this benefit newcomer integration. So we'll start with Jen again.
Yeah, and I think we've touched on this a little bit already. Using generative AI tools like ChatGPT or like one of the speaking tool, you know, you can actually use the voice function in ChatGPT and Copilot, Gemini as well. But Hume.ai is another one of those speaking tools. But using generative AI to create situations like real world communication scenarios is a really fantastic use of the tool, because you know it helps with the learning process. It augments the learning process in some way. Or if you think of SAMR as like substitution, augmentation, I can't remember the M, but reimagination is the last part of the SAMR model of learning. But you could, like I said, you could say, all right, here's our scenario. We're going to be talking to our child's teacher about a particular problem. And, you know, you have the material you've used in the past. You can update it. You can create it. You can say, I want to have, you know, this dialogue, or I want to, you know, it's totally up to you. The other great thing you can do, again, is involve that voice prompt. So if you use Hume.ai or the voice prompt in ChatGPT, which is actually getting a whole lot better and less robotic, you can say, for example, it's September. In September in Canada, we often do a lesson on Terry Fox, right? Terry Fox is kind of the, you know, we have the Terry Fox Day, and we talk about who Terry Fox was and what did he do. So perhaps we can have an immersive interview with an AI acting as Terry Fox. So you could have the voice prompt enabled in class, and you can have it projected onto the screen. And as simple as saying, okay, take on the role. You will act as Terry Fox. Answer questions as Terry Fox. And so the students would then interact and say, okay, so where are you from? Right? And then he would respond and tell me more about your marathon of hope. And, oh, I began my marathon hope in order to do this. How much money did you raise? Right? And it could become a little bit more interactive, right? And this is a great use of the tool to really get the students thinking. And of course, with ChatGPT, you can save the transcript, all the questions that the students came up with, and you know, review it later. Like, what did you notice about, you know, skill building, about the kind of questions that you asked, or things of that nature. So again, you can use it for other cultural scenarios. You know, you want to learn about a particular cultural event, you want to learn about whatever you want to know. I mean, it's been trained on trillions and trillions of bytes of data. That information is out there. However, the one thing, the concern I think we've already talked about is, you know, hallucinations, right? Teachers, again, we really need to be aware of the output. And with my experience doing it with Terry Fox, the Terry Fox example, it did a pretty good job. I didn't notice any outright lies. If it didn't know something very specifically, it said, oh, this is not something I really know too much about. Maybe they asked him about his favorite food. However, we do know that AI tools and generative AI can make things up. They can hallucinate or lie in a way. I guess they're just, but what they're doing is if they can't find the information in their training data, they will predict what they think the answer should be. So we really need to be aware of that. But we certainly can use it to make many different kinds of communicative examples for our students.
Any one of you who has had similar experiences? Have you done something similar that you'd like to share with us? So SAMR learning model stands for 4 steps: substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. There's a blog from TESL Ontario that you can read. The link has been provided. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Very helpful.
Yeah,
Earlier,
I did a customer service class once, and
the students, we had them interact with the AI as a customer service issue, and they had to return an item to the store. because you never know exactly what the AI is going to say. We can predict, we can write up our own scenarios, but the AI could, you know, add different elements that we didn't think of. So it adds this little, you know, I have to return this blouse. What kind of questions are they going to ask? Do you have your receipt? When did you buy it? What was the problem? And things like that. So that's been a great use of the tool as well.
That's
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Good. So using generative AI to create simulations could be a really fun activity to involve learners in. I would say that would be really memorable, right? That's really a unique experience that they will remember for a long time. Communicating with characters, with individuals that they love and that they are attached to somehow, that maybe they cannot ever meet in their real life, or individuals that are not alive anymore. That's amazing, right? That's amazing to do, and it could be really fun.
Definitely, it will be a great, you know, conversation, because the person is not there, but they are literally answering on behalf of them. It's quite realistic. They will be impressed too, as much as we do as instructors. Okay.
Right. And as Sophia is mentioning, it can boost their confidence, right? Because it's a way to practice language without pressure. It's not a real person.
Exactly.
Then when they go to somewhere, for example, to the doctor's office, they will feel like they've rehearsed something similar before. It gives them that sense of confidence. There's a certain comfort there for sure, especially as adults. We appreciate having fun as we learn. Amazing points. Yes.
Yeah, that's a excellent point, because most of the time in a classroom environment, they always hear our voice as instructor. When you have somebody else is actually a voice other than instructor, it just makes a huge difference. Do we have anything in the chat? Are we good to move on?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're really good to move on. Thank you.
So question 4, beyond language acquisition, what other skills or knowledge gaps could generative AI tool potentially help bridge for newcomers in Canada? Over to you, Jen.
Yeah, and again, generative AI can be used for so many things other than just language acquisition. In fact, I used ChatGPT, Claude, actually. I was trying out Claude today. And I said, okay, here are the ingredients that I have today. This is the food I have in my kitchen. I don't want to go outside and do any shopping. What can I make with what I have in my kitchen right now? And it gave me some ideas. Oh, you could do this. You could make a soup. You could do this, or you could make a stew, and it's interesting. Maybe some things I wouldn't have thought of, but most normal things, they certainly can do so many different organizing and schedule creating, and you want to create a fitness regime. Let's say you're in class, you set a SMART goal, a health goal about becoming healthier, drinking more water, being more physically active. You can actually have there's one AI tool called Rosebud.ai, and it's like a journal that talks back to you, and it's an AI infused journal. It's free, and students or teachers, I've used it myself. It's a great tool. So it will ask you reflective questions. Tell me about your day. What are your plans? What are your goals? And then you respond, you write, and then it gives you some insight on it. And then over time, it builds up, and then it comes back to things. It says, so perhaps you had set up a goal to walk 10,000 steps a day. How is that going for you? What are your obstacles? What are your challenges? If you've met it, what are we going to do next? So again, it's like an AI infused journal that talks back to you. And certainly that helps language. Of course, that helps with language, but it can also help organize and motivate you, and to to get you on the path, especially if you're trying to work towards a specific goal. Perhaps it's your professional accreditation, or you want to do whatever it happens to be. Again, it's a tool that can help you. Other things, of course, it can give you insight into networking, job markets, can give you personalized insights. Maybe you are a qualified engineer from another, you got your training outside of Canada, and you want to know more about that. Of course, you could always, you don't need Gen AI to do that. You can go online and get the information. But again, the Gen AI tool can personalize it for you and give you some insights based on your experience, your background, your preferences, and things like that. And the other thing, of course, it can do, we've already touched on this a little bit, is to practice those difficult conversations. So maybe somebody, it's a workplace scenario, maybe there's a problem at work or there's something that they're having some issues with, and they don't quite know the words to say or how to go about it. Using an AI tool, you know, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Hume, you can use Copilot, and say, I want to practice talking through this difficult scenario. Can you give me feedback on how I'm expressing myself? And what can I do to improve my meeting here? So there's definitely ways that the tool can be leveraged to help our newcomers use it to be more creative and to express themselves a little bit more clearly, and things like that. But there's so much out there.
A 24/7 mentor. That's what you're talking about, right? Somebody you can reach out to with whatever questions you have. In the institution I work for, we have the librarians that are there, well, almost 5 days a week. And I always tell them, you're not alone. You can chat with the librarian or with the learning support center, with the student support center as well. So, well, now they have the tools. It's rosebud.ai. Thank you, Jen. Jennifer is saying this is a wonderful idea. I'm going to try using AI with the students to help them brainstorm solutions to a much broader range of goals rather than focusing exclusively on language acquisition. Yes, life skills, as Jen was saying, it can help us really improve our thoughts even, and the way we think and our train of thought, and also the way we express ourselves based on the experiences we have. And we can help our students this way find a job, solve problems that they might have in their life with their children or on their own education related. Great, amazing ideas for sure. And we go back to what we were talking about earlier, that we really need to help our students make the best out of these tools, rather than let them be blind and not understand and know what they can learn and how they can use the tools when everybody else is doing it. So very good.
They can use it towards their advantage. They could also use it for, finding potential interview questions before the interview, and then sit down and practice them. You can, ask them what will be the potential good answers as well, and see if you're actually including those answers while you're replying back to them, right? Instead of just scaring the students or banning them not to use it, we can show it in a way, potentially it will be good where you can use and apply it on your, like, everyday life. Like Jen said earlier, like, I have this at home, I don't want to go shopping, what can I do? So literally brainstorming for you. And then it's like, oh, I never thought about that. And then you start doing it, right? So we have to look at it in the positive way, other than getting, worried, scared about this AI tool, to take the best out of it. Right?
Yeah, and again, there's so many applications to it. I once had ChatGPT settle an argument between me and my husband.
I like to see that.
He kept on bugging me about how I cleaned the cucumbers. He's like, you're just not doing it well enough, and you gotta scrub it. I was like, no, just rinse it, it's okay. And he's like, no, you gotta clean. I said, well, let's just find out from Chat. What does Chat think? And Chat actually came up on his side. Said, you really need to be careful about your cleaning your cucumbers more. I was like, okay, fine.
Didn't work for you that day.
Judge, right? Somebody that's external.
Yes,
third party.
Right? Fatima is saying, interview AI is a great tool to practice real life scenarios. The speaking bot generates follow-up questions based on the candidate's responses. wow, I can definitely use this in one of my classes with my students. I teach Canadian job market, so this is very, very helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fatima. And yes, Jennifer saying, what did you end up making to eat, Jen? Based on the responses you got.
I think I just ordered out.
Okay. It didn't work this time, right? Yeah, it can help us most of the time, but not always. Danielle mentions that we should focus on the positive uses. Yes, right. And we should emphasize that writing assignments are meant to help prepare them, our students, for the real world, and that takes genuine practice. Have them take that ownership. It's a tool, right? They have to use their brain. They have to give themselves time to think prior to going into the tool. That's what I always tell my students. You have to give yourself time to think. You have to train your brain. It's a muscle and you have to keep training it. And then, yes, you can go and test it out on ChatGPT, get some ideas as well, but then go back to your own writing and try to reflect on it and improve it and learn from what ChatGPT gave you or whatever Gen AI gave you. So let's use it as a tool, but let's not leave out thinking, right?
And don't leave out your own voice either. I mean, it's what we're seeing a lot of the times is in the job market, employers are getting the same cover letter, right? The same cover letter. And then they're like, it looks like, I've got, 50 applicants and they all basically are saying the same thing because it's generated from, it's a Gen AI tool. So you're not standing out. And the other thing is if you have been using AI tools in your communication with networking and a potential employer, they begin to form an idea of who you are. And then when you have that Zoom meeting, there could be some, wait a minute, this person was so eloquent and expressed their ideas so nicely in email, and then in person or in person especially, suddenly there's this, you can't quite respond, or you don't have the same kind of fluidity, fluent expression. And so there's this disconnect. So there's, it is a tool, but that's what I'm cautioning my students, make sure your own voice is in there so they know who you are and they can see what you bring to the potential job or the situation.
Absolutely. That's very important point to highlight. And what we can do, what I've done in my classrooms is that I've given my students a prompt and asked everybody to go on ChatGPT and produce an answer. And they were shocked at first to see that they got very similar results. So will you go with such a cover letter and apply for a job? Right? And that scared them. That really scared my students because they understood that employers were going to get the same exact cover letters, and therefore that was not the right way to go.
Yes, and on that point, I just want to say quickly that there was a window of opportunity when ChatGPT was first released where you could pass that off as you and get away with it. That window has closed.
The boat has sailed. Yes. Very good. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's go on to our fifth question. Yes, very good.
Perfect. Thank you, Laureta. As AI technology continues to evolve, how can ESL teachers stay informed and adapt their teaching strategies to leverage the potential of generative AI effectively? We'll start with Jen again.
Yeah, like I said, when I first started thinking about AI, when it first kind of came onto the scene, when you start learning about AI at first, there's so much that it's like taking a drink of water from a fire hydrant. There's just so much out there. And over the past couple of years, I've also worked with ESL Library. You might know them as Ellie. And their last conference was focused entirely on AI and generative AI. So at that point, I said, I really need to know more. If I'm going to be on the panel, and at this point, I really need to understand more about this tool. So staying informed, I started of course, YouTube, I went on and I started searching for, what's out there right now and what do I need to be concerned about. I found some fantastic resources. Definitely, if you're interested in learning more, follow Stanford HAI, Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence, I think is what it stands for. Ethan Mollick has got some really great ideas on education. Amanda Bickerstaff, she runs I can't think of the name of her group, but she's been doing research on AI in education, primarily in K-12. But going onto LinkedIn, if you follow AI and you follow, Amanda Bickerstaff and Stanford HII, it generally tends you go down the rabbit hole, right? Because there tends to be, okay, let me learn more about this and let me learn more about this. So definitely staying apprised of what's happening in AI, following blogs and journals, research publications. Those are also great things to do, but definitely staying on top of it. And then just saying, okay, well, how does this apply to me? I mean, AI is everywhere. It's not just a productivity tool. It's a life tool. It's in virtually every possible career field work. Microsoft just produced a report saying that 74% of all knowledge workers right now are currently using some form of generative AI. Of course, that's Microsoft. They might be a little biased, who knows, but 74% of knowledge workers are using some form of generative AI. And this was based on a study of over 31,000 workers in different countries, 6 different countries or something like that. If you do a Google search for it, it's a Microsoft LinkedIn 2024 State of Work report. And it's got some really interesting insights into how AI is impacting outside of education, but of course, education itself. And for me, what that actually means is my students, they're not going to be my students forever. We want to get them into the workplace. And if we want to get them into the workplace, there's going to be AI, there's going to be technology that they need to be able to understand how to use ethically and responsibly and so on. So definitely following, Harvard HAI is actually another really good site as well. But going out to the TESL Ontario conference that's coming up in November, definitely it's is it November? I don't know the date exactly, but coming out to the conferences and participating, staying on top of it, and then bringing back what it means to your particular teaching situation for sure.
Joining our webinars and TESL Dialogue. We have a second session coming up on AI with Jen again. So those are great opportunities.
Us too.
Mm-hmm. It's ongoing. It's a learning curve for everybody. And in my institution, we were having lots of sessions on AI, and I feel that everywhere this is the buzz word everybody's talking about now. And it takes time, right? So it takes time for educators outside of teaching and learning to get accustomed and to get familiar with the tools that evolve every day. That's the other thing, because there are so many tools that are being used and that are being invented that it's so hard to keep up with all of them. But I would say if we pick one or two and then try them out, incorporate them in one way or another in our teachings, I feel that could work. At least that has worked so far for me. Do you have any other ideas? How are you keeping up with all AI related questions? Just don't be the last person. Yes, Danielle. Don't be the last person to know. That's the fear, right? That's the fear we have. Amanda Bickerstaff was the person Jen was referring to. Thank you for the link, Jen. Very good. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I think Jen mentioned quite a few people. Just following those will give you a lot of details about AI tools, and actively participating, right? Going to webinars and having connection with people and asking, the questions that puzzles you and practicing it and reading blog posts are very helpful as well, because there is always resources that, presenters are very generous to share, because finding those resources takes sometimes days, months, hours to collect them, right? They generously just sharing everything at one shot. So, which is wonderful. And you can just, explore those will be very, very helpful as well. That's what I personally do anyway.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gonul. And thank you, Jen, for the links. Stanford, One Useful Thing, Etymologic. Very good. So you could click on those links and have them handy. Great. Very good. Okay, so it's 8 p.m. and I think we're right on time for our discussion group question. So what happens now is that we put you into breakout rooms and you'll have some time to talk with one another. Me, Jen, and Gonul will not join you, so you will be on your own. But we have a question for you. So Gonul will share the question and I'll create the breakout rooms. You'll have about 12 minutes to talk to each other, and then we'll come back together. You will have a spokesperson to share whatever you discussed in the breakout room. This will be our concluding question for tonight. Gonul, over to you for the question.
Thank you, Laureta, for the detailed information. So the breakout room activity question is, how are you currently using AI in your teaching practice? Share your tips and concerns or any other, things you may have with the group that you are in. So shortly, you'll be joining. Laureta is in the process of preparing those groups. Then you can join those breakout rooms. So make sure to just choose a spokesperson. So when we come back, we'll go group by group, and then you will get a chance to, unmute yourself and tell us what happened in that group.
Okay, so here we are. The groups are ready. See you in 12, 13 minutes, everybody. Enjoy.
Yes.
Perfect. Welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed talking to each other. More cameras on. That's always the case with our students as well as with our TESL Dialogue group. So that's great. You use the chat because one of the groups was sharing that they had some microphone issues. Okay, good. We find solutions. Great. So let's start with our room one. We had Angela, Annie, Arla, and Danielle. If any one of you could share whatever you discussed with each other. How are you currently using AI in your teaching practice? Any tips, any concerns? Do you have a spokesperson?
I'm the spokesperson.
Organized group.
It's kind of interesting because I'm actually the student. Right now I'm in the TESL diploma program at King College of Educators. So I'm still getting training, although I have taught ESL in Taiwan. And at the time, of course, we didn't have ChatGPT and all these things. So this is kind of new and it's interesting. I'm actually very excited about it. And actually, our whole group was very positive about the usage of this tool and how it's kind of reinvigorating classes after years of doing the same things. It's actually refreshing, and there's a lot of different applications you can use for it. One thing we talked about was inputting sentences as like an editor, and having done that process myself through school, I learned a lot that way. And I think having this tool where we can just automatically do it, learning can be accelerated right in the moment. You can be learning. And one of our teachers said it's hard, fitting grammar into the lessons. And so that, for example, could be a good application if you're using it as a supplemental kind of tool. And another one of our teachers said, how do you elicit like asking questions on ChatGPT? How do you elicit what you want from it? What do you say? That's a real life skill, like not just for native speakers, but for the students as well. Like, what do you say to get what you want from the thing? Then we have more specific applications like register, if you're in a job interview, like what level formality, you could type in a sentence, how do I say this for an interview, or just comparing like look at the difference in the register in a formal situation, informal situation, Yeah, so yeah, lots of positivity in our group about this.
Great ideas. Absolutely. And I love the fact that you're interested in, okay, how do I teach my students to write the right prompt for them? Right? The prompt that will really give them the information they're looking for. And that's a skill we really need to focus on because they will need this, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great ideas. Thank you. Thank you so much, Danielle. And thank you, Group 1. Let's move on to Room 2. We have Gabriela, Jay Bishop, and Jennifer. Any volunteer from your group?
We had two topics come up. I'm not currently teaching, but I used the AI to write Python code, and it seems to do that quite well. The other thing that came up, I think, was there's not a lot of direction in some cases from teaching institutions about how to deal with plagiarism and use of AIs. So there may be, I guess, given the tone of the discussion that we've had, more latitude to, consider the acceptable and unacceptable uses of these tools rather than taking sort of a giant fly swatter and disciplining people who
Right. Okay. Great, thank you. There are no clear guidelines from many institutions, right, on plagiarism using AI and how to deal with such scenarios and how to make use of AI in such cases. So, and that's a reality most of us are sharing. So, great point there. Thank you so much to Room 1. Let's continue with Room 3. We have Cassie, Monisha, and Plamen.
It was interesting because it was quite a diverse group as well. Some of us are teachers, others are not. We spoke mostly about concerns. So we spoke about using the same rubrics when you're shifting from an in-person to an online class, and that brought us into the discussion of that assessments are actually were created before the popularization of the bots, so they're not AI proof. And we spoke about that critical need to adapt assessment that are more up to date with AI. We also spoke about critical AI literacy, I guess, and setting very clear expectations with your learners, or how the bots should or shouldn't be used. We also spoke about a possible way how to avoid the risk of academic integrity issues, and that is to hybridize your assessments. So maybe part of it is in class, the other one is online. In terms of the ways that we have used AI, so some of the folks said that they have used it for brainstorming, for self-training, doing research, as well as digital companionship. And we also spoke about adapting the rubrics so that they are a little bit more AI proof.
Great ideas.
Thanks.
I can see you used your time efficiently. Thank you, Plamen. And Room 3. Yes, there's a lot that we have to shift and change and adapt based on the new circumstances we're currently working in and teaching in. Thank you, Room 3. Let's move on to Room 4. We have Shweta, Sophia, Sylvester, and Victoria. I would like
I understand it's me, right, Sophia?
Okay.
No,
Yes,
actually,
you're the
guys,
volunteer.
number one, thank you very much for this opportunity, because really our group had a very nice discussion how we all are using it. One thing which we were really on track, in spite of the fact that everyone is speaking about concerns, etc. We all realize that we have to live with it. If we have to live with it, we actually have to be ahead. We have to learn ourselves what we can do, and we have to teach our students. Let's say from my side, what I was sharing, because I am also not, I'm not only ESL teacher, I'm also a business instructor, college professor, because I have two streams, and the second one is business stream. So I really like using AI. I wouldn't say that I know as much as Jane shares with us, but really it's not my first session I am attending, and every time I learn something, I like to apply. But just simple example, I like to use it for research for projects. Let's say when it's finance, really one of the most creative things which I ever had, I just asked the students to create their own hedge fund. And what was really exciting, I shared with my actually teammates right now in a group that they even started making money. So that was something absolutely great. Another thing is I really like this way how videos are created by AI. And actually, what I understand, I create a lot of my own materials. So what I see AI is a useful tool for me right now. Creating presentations, creating video is not a problem at all. And actually, I have even another question. When you started today, the lecture was acknowledgement created by AI. It looked like that, right? Acknowledgement you started today.
We've used the same acknowledgement since years ago.
But is it created with the help of AI? No?
Have to ask, but
right now you can do it
created.
much easier and much faster.
We had this one long time, so
It was created, yeah, a long time ago.
You can play then.
Okay, we'll check.
Yeah.
We'll
So,
check
and we were speaking about other opportunities, which actually
Yes.
what else we can do, but technically AI can actually motivate our students to see where they are standing and what they can do more. I just give you an idea. When I ask something just to do, when they start initially writing something, and then I ask them to use AI and to make out what their first draft is to create with the help of AI final, let's say, presentation or short video. Result is, just there is a huge gap, but the trick is it motivates students to work more and to be more proactive. I really want my group mates also to speak because they had such nice ideas.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Victoria, for sharing your story. Well, creating a hedge fund and making money, that's a great way to use AI.
But I'm really looking at what I was sharing. I'm looking forward for AI 5 because it will be something absolutely tremendously different from what we have now. It will be absolutely different product with analytical skills. And that's what I really want to see, how to work with that. But even just with letters, I don't know why guys sometimes will speak that, oh, AI helped them to create letters. Really, why not? If they have never had experience, why not learn something and then use it at the background? So for me, it works well. I really stimulate students to think more professionally in this way, how to use it better.
Yes.
No, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Victoria. And thank you for, if there's anything else you would like to share, anyone, please feel free. Otherwise, this was great. It was lovely to have all of you here. We still have comments in our chat box. One could try teaching the Royal Order of Adjectives via Design AI. Have a fun day in the classroom. Thank you, Angela. We took note of all the websites you shared with the links, and then we'll share them with you. Over to you, Gonul, to end our session for tonight. This was great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Laureta. So if you happen to have any other question about today's, dialogue session that we have, and feel free to contact with Jen, or if you have anything else.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was a pleasure to have you all here and to read and listen to all your great ideas and your contributions. Thank you so much, Jen, for your support, for your ongoing support to our TESL Dialogue family.